All right, we are back, baby. Better than ever. We are not. We are not better than ever. Uh, so the wild. I don't want to say the wild, but the end to the week last week with my tummy troubles, as well as my weird um, low grade fever that I was running. Yeah, I mean, kind of persisted through the weekend, and it was not very much fun, dude. I did not have a great weekend in terms of that. I mean, it was a good weekend. Don't get me wrong, but just like nutritionally speaking, and from just a general health standpoint in that regard, like I just don't feel like it was great. I mean, I'm fine. I'm not, same issues I was dealing with last week, nothing crazy, but just I still, even this morning, still not feeling 100%. I think, I think, I don't want to speak too soon here. I wish I had some wood to knock on, but I don't. I think that the fever portion is gone. So we're still just dealing with like a tummy ache, and not even really a tummy ache, just like you know squirts, man. And I mean that may be TMI for you guys. I don't really care, but um, just yeah, all weekend. So quick recap. I'm gonna try to keep this brief because I don't know. I just I don't want to talk too much about it, but to give you an idea of where we're coming into the week at here. So Friday after the gym, I think I kind of spoke on it then, but like didn't really feel super great, I guess. I got home after I got home from the gym. I made a smoothie because you'll remember on Friday I did not go to. I went to the gym early because my electricity was out, so I went to the gym. Got back and I didn't have anything made for lunch, like beef or anything, and I didn't feel like great, and it didn't really sound good. Didn't feel up to cooking anything, so I just made my smoothie that I would normally eat for breakfast at like 9 a.m. I had that at like 11, and that was it for the day. I didn't eat anything else until like 6 o'clock that night, um, and my fever, if you will, I never really touched what I think is technically considered fever temperatures. But when I tempt myself with my little like thermometer gun on Friday. I was temping like 99.1, 99.4. So I was elevated, but not. I don't think what you would be technically considered like a fever. So, but I still had the aches and stuff, and nothing really sounded good. And even that night at like 6, I was trying to, I was starving. Mind you, I eat like 4,000 calories a day, and at this point, by 6 p.m. on Friday, I had maybe 1,000, and so I'm starving, but nothing sounded good. Like everything that I was thinking about that I could eat at home, I was like, man, I'm very hungry, but it just made like the thought of eating anything makes me want to like, but you know, doesn't sound good. So finally settled on like I just got to thinking about it, and I was like, man, some pizza or like give me a Five Guys cheeseburger, like something like that sounds good. Like just something disgusting and greasy. Like I want that. Finally settled on like some takeout food. Ate every bite of that. Felt a little bit better, but was still obviously still hungry. I mean, at this point, we're pushing up against like maybe 2,500 calories for the whole day, and basically went to bed on that. I think I drank a couple of beers, but nothing didn't get out of control with it. So went to bed on that. Saturday was my son's birthday party, and I preemptively took some Advil that morning just because I didn't want to. That was like not the day I wanted to be dealing with a fever and tummy issues. So ended up I took some Advil preemptively that morning. I actually had an appetite that morning, probably because I was so fucking hungry that I like my body was just like, yeah, bro, whatever, just eat. So I ate while I could Saturday. Ate like a bagel, a protein shake, and like fucking 24 ounces of orange juice just down the hatch. And then that kind of carried me into the early afternoon. We had pizza at his party, which I was like forcing myself to eat pizza because I knew I needed to eat, but the pizza was not really going down smooth. I was chewing it, I noticed, for like a very long time, and my mouth seemed kind of dry while doing it. So I was like, but I gotta eat, man. Um, got through that day. I think I took 2 Advil total that day. The last medicine I took at all was Saturday at like noon. So didn't take anything yesterday, but felt relatively fine. I think still probably dealing with some stomach issues. Um, I ate like a shitload of macaroni and cheese for lunch yesterday when we got home from church, and it like sat in my stomach like a freaking bag of bricks, dude. Like all day, I was just very uncomfortable. I couldn't like. I was feeling very lazy yesterday, very lethargic. Didn't really do much. Didn't do anything really. I just laid on the couch, honestly, like straight up for like 3 or 4 hours yesterday afternoon. Um, Finally got some energy back last night, and then this morning woke up. I feel fine. No, obviously no fever or anything, no elevated temperature, and I've eaten everything that I would normally eat on like a normal training day. Um, I had my breakfast this morning, orange juice, took some pre-workout, just a little bit of pre-workout, and then I have my normal like pomegranate juice water blend right here that I'm going to drink. I feel okay, but it's just, I don't know. I normally feel okay in the mornings, and then like by midday, that's when I start to feel iffy, especially after the gym, which is where I'm headed now, obviously. So all that to say that today at the gym should be kind of interesting. I have to hit 330 for a single on bench, and I'm not really worried about it not going up. I'm just worried about the difficulty in which it will move. I have a feeling it just is not going to move all that well because I have like I said, 4,000 calories a day usually. So since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 12,000 calories between the last video I recorded and now ish that I should have taken in. And I probably took in half that. So I'm, you know, granted, weekends are typically a wild card for me. I don't really track much on the weekends, if anything. I know that most days on the weekends I'm coming up short of protein, and that's fine with me. It's something that it's just what I'm able to do consistently is that. So I don't really stress it too much, but this weekend in particular, because of the stomach issues that I've had and I'm continuing to have, still had some this morning. So that part is not behind me yet, unfortunately. But I know you guys are probably loving to hear about that, but just we'll see. Gym this week should be interesting, especially today and maybe even tomorrow, just depending on how my appetite goes for the rest of the day. Because if I don't refuel my body, I have a feeling that this week is going to go very poorly. So we'll see. I don't know. Fortunately, I don't really have to do anything super intensive this week at the gym except for Friday. So that's the last day of the week. That's 4 days from now. So I kind of have my body has a bit of a break between now and then. So I don't know. We'll see. It could be enough time for me to recover, and we should be okay by then. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I just am sucking wind all week long, and it doesn't go at all as planned. So who knows? But we're going to do some upper body today. We're going to do bench 330 for one. And then I got some back downs as well as some accessories. So I guess kind of interested to see how this goes, given the whole weekend scenario that I just laid out. Could go either. I could surprise myself and this could go very well, or, which would be great news for next Monday when I'm supposed to attempt the max. If today goes well on limited calories and a half-ass illness, then next week could go phenomenally well whenever I'm all carved up again and feeling 95, 100%. Hey, buddy, I am right here, sir. Fucking retard. People fucking driving. I almost got hit just now. Dumbass. Probably should have honked, but I didn't. It's all good. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm optimistic that today's going to go okay. You know, you got to go into this. The mindset is half of it, and so if I go into this thinking it's going to suck, then it probably will. But if I go into this with a positive attitude, just looking to do the best that I can, then we'll probably have some pretty okay results. So yeah, but just a lesson in I don't know, resiliency maybe. Mindset is 80% of the battle. So make sure you keep your head up, king or queen. Let's see. But yeah, that was a quick weekend recap. Don't really have much else to add, honestly. So I'm probably not going to. I'll probably just end it here because I'm almost to the gym as it is. That was a quick drive today. I feel like I hit every green light on the way here, which is not a complaint. But normally I hit, a few reds. So, yeah, I'm just gonna probably end it because I don't really have much else to add, like I said. So we'll get inside, we'll get warmed up. Hopefully the warm ups on bench go smoothly. Hopefully they're feeling all right. That'll be my gauge, and then we'll go from there. We'll see how everything moves today, and then we can talk about it afterwards. But I guess we'll get inside, get warmed up, and I'll see you guys just in a hot second. Lickety split. All right. Well, coming off of a bad weekend, nutritionally speaking, or fighting illness and all sorts of other fun. Was a little worried going into the session that things were not going to move the way that I wanted them to move. Of course, that's always a concern, especially whenever you're coming off of a sickness or an illness. It's hard, it's tough. It could go terrible, or you could surprise yourself and it could be way better than you thought it could be. Or I guess there's a secret third option where everything goes exactly the way you think it will go. And it's, I guess not a surprise and not a disappointment either. Hopefully either the second option or the third option. But anyways, this was my last warm up here. This was 140 kilos or 308 pounds. Decided to take this as my last warm up, where usually I would take like 315 or 320 as my last warm up. Decided this time that with the top set being 330, I wanted to give myself a little bit of space to jump, and honestly moved pretty well, all things considered. So nothing to complain about on the last warm up. Gives you a little bit of a confidence boost going into the top set, which we'll see coming up in just a jiff. And then moving on to the next set, this would be our top set. So this is what we bumped up to. This is let me check my notes here. This is 150, yes, 150 kilos or 330 pounds. Probably should have had a spotter here, to be honest, based on how I was feeling. I knew the weekend went and just how the last warm-up kind of moved, but decided to wing it and give it a go, PR or ER, as they say, and it ultimately worked out. But the last warm-up gave me enough of a confidence boost, and I was strong enough at this point in time to know that 330 was probably going to go up regardless of how I was feeling. May be a grind, may not just fly right up, but I knew myself and my strength well enough to basically make the call and say, yeah, this is whatever, I got this. May not be fun, but I've got this. So when you get a little bit more experienced, that just kind of comes with the territory. You can kind of make those calls. It just sort of happens over time. You get to know yourself, your body, your strength levels, and it becomes an easy decision. But this was definitely really taking oh, there we go. We're done. We hit it and we're done. I missed it. Happened so fast, I missed it. And on this particular day, for some reason, I had 6 sets of 3 at 115. Well, what was prescribed was 255, but we jumped to 115 kilos, which is 253 pounds. So 6 sets of 3. I don't remember what set this was that I recorded, but I know it was, one of the 6, to say the least. It definitely was one of the 6 sets that I did. So, and honestly, I don't really recall how this felt. I like to think that 253, no matter how many sets of 3 I'm doing, is very manageable, especially at my strength level at this stage of the game, where I was deep into a peak on week 11, and 253 for me is not a whole lot of weight. I understand that for some people it is, but like I said, at this stage of the game, for me, not very much weight. And 3 reps, even 6 sets of 3 reps, is not a whole lot. So, looked good to me. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Maybe you disagree. Maybe that looked like shit. There's a good chance it did, but yeah. All right. Well, that I mean, that went about as expected, I guess. You know, I guess secretly, like deep down, I was hoping for it to move just a little bit better, but you know, in all reality, like it's kind of what I expected was for that to move at like, RPE 9.5, RPE 10. So, you know, that's what we got. That was a fucking grinder, that's for sure. Does not make me optimistic about next week, but, lots of time to make up some ground between now and then. So, we'll get it. We'll get there. It'll be there on meat day and other lies that I tell myself. Yeah, I mean, I went, so last warm up was at 308. So, was that 140 basically? Yeah, 140 kilos, 308 pounds. And then I made the jump from there to 330 or 150. So, 308 felt okay. It was a bit of a struggle, not going to lie. Like, it was kind of wasn't hard, but it was just, obviously like felt heavier than I thought it would. But still kind of remained somewhat confident about going to 330 from there. But, honestly, like as soon as I unracked 330, I was like, yeah, this is not going to go as well as I think it is. I'm going to not have a good time doing this. So, and I was right. It was pretty fucking tough. So, back off sets felt fine though. I had 6 sets of 3 at 253, 115 kilos, 253 pounds. It felt fine. I only recorded like a couple sets just because that seemed like a lot to record. So you saw one set, you saw all 6 basically. And then I went and did just a couple of accessories. I didn't do the whole accessory block because it was I'd have been there all afternoon. Honestly, it was kind of a long session. Those 6 sets of bench, they eat up time. You take 6 sets of each set. From the time I'm wrapping my wrists until the time I'm unwrapping my wrists after the lift. That whole process takes, a minute and a half. I mean, that's anywhere from 6 to 9 minutes. Plus all the resting in between sets, 2-3 minutes, somewhere like that. So, now you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes. So you're looking at a potential for almost half an hour just on my back downs. And that's, just it is what it is. We got it taken care of though. So, I did, my accessories were, the ones that I did were neutral grip lat pull downs. And then, yeah, you do one over. You're a fucking idiot. God, dumbass, dude. Neutral grip lat pull downs, 4 sets of 8. And somewhere in there, I kind of started feeling weird. Just not great, I still kind of feel that way. I think it's probably honestly because I'm hungry. I mean, I feel fine otherwise. Like, I am hungry, and I know that based on all, especially after this lift, I'm probably very hungry. My body's probably, yeah, come on, buddy, get up here, because I know you're going to try to rush it. I know my body's probably starving for calories right now. So that's probably a big part of what it is. But I just kind of started feeling like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what the feeling was exactly. But Nissan Altima. I want to take a guess. uh, yeah, just got kind of weird feeling. So then I did chest press, or not chest press, sorry, chest flies on the machine. I called it, and I kept the intensity relatively low on all of them. The lat pull downs were already prescribed as at RPE 7. So, I don't know how you make it much easier than RPE 7 on lat pull downs. But that's what I did. I tried to keep it at, sorry. That's the story of my life the last few days. Tried to keep it relatively light on lat pull downs, and then relatively light on the chest flies. Supposed to do like RPE 8 and 9 on the chest flies. Nope. It's like RPE 7, 6 maybe. So I was trying to get some movement in without like really overtaxing myself. And then I called it because I had been in there for like an hour and a half. I am hungry now, which is a good sign, I guess. Hunger is back to an extent. I'm going to need to go home and make something, though. Not super stoked about that. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I have any of my taco seasoning. So this could pose an issue. May have to get creative today. But I just use taco seasoning because it's easy. I know I could probably recreate a taco seasoning with the stuff I have in my pantry. I just don't, because dumping in taco seasoning is just easier. But I'll probably have to recreate something today. Not a big deal. I'm gonna hope to God that I feel better tomorrow. Even incrementally. Even if it's just a little bit better, it's still better. And so that's what I'm hoping for. Just day by day, one day at a time. Tomorrow's a pretty light leg day. I got to do squats, 4 sets of 1 tomorrow. 310 is written, but we will be doing 315 because I'm lazy and I don't really want to load 310 on the bar when I could just load 315. So it's such a negligible amount of weight at such a low percentage of my 1 rep max that I don't really care that much. I'm not gonna nitpick it. So, but so yeah, then there's that, and then just gonna be a quick leg day. Again, I'm not really looking to do anything crazy. Depending on how I feel, will kind of determine what accessories I do and to what extent that I do them. Similar to how today went with my accessories on chest, where I just kind of called it, did light work, and then called it. So yeah, y'all keep me in your prayers. Trying to kick this stomach thing. Shout out to my son for giving it to me, and shout out to whoever gave it to him for giving it to him. So yeah, hoping this gets resolved quick. But on another note, I saw something. So I like lurk in subreddits sometimes. A lot of like the just sort of like newer, like newbie fitness subreddits. People asking questions about getting started and like beginner fitness and whatnot. And one of the questions I saw the other day was actually it was either yesterday. Was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. Was a dude who was like, he was asking about bench strength and how he was making like no progress on bench. He's like, yeah, I started, and about 4 months in, I could do 225 for 2. And then now about 7 months in, I can do 225 for 4. But I just can't seem to be doing, I don't seem to be progressing on bench very much. I don't think it's a strength issue. I can do push-ups pretty much indefinitely, but I don't really bench much. Anybody have any tips? I do like they said, I do push-ups indefinitely, which I kind of got a kick out of. And then he's talking about how he does like, chest press machine and all this other stuff. And a lot of the comments were correctly pointing out that the fact that he doesn't bench very much is the reason why his bench is not progressing. And I also chimed in and said that just to echo everyone else, But it's a sentiment that, I don't know. It's just something to not think about, but just something to say, I guess, is that especially like the big three lifts or big four if you want to include overhead press, right? Because I think this is probably even pretty applicable to that. Any barbell movement really. They're movements. They're movements, right? It's not an exercise as much. I mean, it is, but it's more of a movement, right? You're training the movement, and to get better at the movement, you have to do the movement. And so this guy in his own post, basically wrote out his problem is that I don't bench much. Well, that's why you're not progressing on bench. No amount of push-ups and no amount of chest press and no amount of tricep extensions are going to do you any favors long run on your bench press. If you want to get better at bench, you need to bench. There's no way around it. That's the key here. For as long as I can remember, I have been benching at least twice a week. And some, like on this program, sometimes even 3 times a week. And that's one of the keys to getting better at it is you have to overload the movement some so that your body can make adaptations. It's silly to go into the gym and think that you can max out the chest press machine. Well, I max out the chest press machine and I can do push-ups pretty much indefinitely. How come I can't bench 405? Well, because you're not benching. That's why. It goes back. I'm reminded of a dude who I talked about earlier this year. He was like some fucking goofball functional fitness dummy that was like shitting on the bench press, and he was talking about he had a reel, and the thumbnail of the reel was like, you should stop benching, or bench press is overrated, or something like that. And he was just talking about how in the caption, right, it was this dude that was like, he looked like he was in shape, like he had muscle on him, he was a in shape guy. There was this dude, and in the caption, he's talking about how the bench press is overrated, and here's some exercises you should do instead. But in the caption, he also made sure to let you know that he could bench 405 for reps, right? And I think I made, when I talked about it on one of my previous videos, I don't know which one, I'd have to go back and look, but when I talked about it, I was like, yeah, he's full of shit. Either he can't bench 405 for reps, which is highly likely. 405 is elite level bench, like elite. There are not very many people in the world that can do it. Like if you're in a room with 1,000 people and you can bench press 405, let me rephrase that. If there are 1,000 people in a room, maybe one of them can bench press 405, right? I forget what the actual number is, but it is something like that. It's like thousands of people in a room. Where if you're in a room with I forget the exact number, but if you're in a room with 5,000 people or something like that, one of them can bench press 405. So it's already very rare. Very rare. Don't let social media fool you. 405 bench is incredibly impressive. So is a 225 bench, for that matter. Don't let social media fucking lie to you, Social media has normalized a 315 bench is like the standard, but a 225 bench is impressive. Anyways, so he was talking about how he could bench 405 for reps, but he didn't bench anymore, or he did bench. He was shitting on bench, right? And I said that he was full of shit because either he could not bench 405, or he benched, he was a bench presser. He was sitting there telling you to do one thing while simultaneously doing another. He was saying, do as I say, not as I do, because you don't get to, as I just got done laying out, you don't get to a 405 bench by doing fucking sandbag presses, okay? You don't add 100 pounds to your bench press by doing fucking floor presses and Z presses and tricep extensions. Those are great accessory movements, and they're meant to help you address weaknesses and imbalances in the muscle groups that are used during those exercises. So yes, they are useful, but they are not the main driver of progress on a compound lift. And so if you sit there and tell me that you can bench 405 for reps, but you also don't bench press, I already I know you're full of shit. one way or the other. You're either lying about being able to bench press 405, or you can bench press 405 and you do bench press, but you're telling me you don't. It's one of the two. So either way, you're full of shit. And that's kind of the point that I was making with this dude when he made this reel fucking like 6 or 8 months ago, whatever it was, and I was commenting on it. I was like, yeah, that's the problem with people these days, is like it's just a shining example of how so many people on social media have no fucking idea what they're talking about. They're full of shit and they have no clue what they're saying. You know, oh, you shouldn't bench press, but I can still bench press 405 for reps, by the way. But you shouldn't be bench pressing because here's why, and here are 4 exercises you should be doing instead. The fucking kettlebell Z press, the sandbag overhead press. It's like, brother, shut up. Shut the fuck up. You sound like a fucking cornball. No one cares what you have to say. You are not a resident expert on the matter, dude. Sorry, but you're not. And all that to say, sorry, it got me a little worked up there again, but all that to say that the dude on Reddit who I was responding to is like, that was his issue, is he flat out said, I'm not benching that often. And that's the issue, is that if you want to improve on bench, or like I said, any barbell movement really, squats, deadlifts, bench, incline bench, overhead press, cleans, jerks, snatches, any of that, you've got to practice that movement, right? It's a movement as much as it is an exercise. And you have to practice those things. So you can't expect to get better at it by not practicing. And that's just what it boils down to. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to make excuses. Oh, well, I hurt my shoulder, and I heard the bench press is really bad for your shoulder. And yeah, it is. You fucking do it wrong. If you go into the gym and try to ego lift and act like a fucking retard, yeah, it's really bad for you. You're going to hurt yourself. But if you're honest with yourself and you follow a program that implements progressive overload effectively, and you eat right, you get enough protein, you get enough sleep, you drink enough water, it's perfectly safe. It's no more dangerous than doing a bicep curl, you know? There's a risk of injury every time you walk into the gym and load your muscles under tension with weight, right? If you could just as easily injure yourself ego lifting on curls as you could squat, like blowing your quad off the bone with a squat, or ripping your pec off the bone with a bench press, right? The issue boils down to ego lifting. You're lifting too much weight. Your form fucking sucks, and you have no idea what you're doing. And if that offends you, I'm probably talking to you. It's not a matter of it being safe, because it's been proven time and time again to be incredibly safe and incredibly beneficial for building muscle. A lot of people will argue with me about that. A lot of people will argue with you about that if you hold that view. But the fact of the matter is that, like, it's a very safe exercise when done correctly. It's S tier. Any barbell movement, really, S tier. Deadlift, S tier. Squat, S tier. Bench, S tier. Overhead press, S tier. Cleans, S tier. Jerks, S tier. Snatches, these are popular movements implemented in high level competitions like the Olympics and IPF for a reason, you know. They've been around a long time for a reason. They're perfectly safe. The problem is you have no fucking idea what you're doing, and you want to blame the exercise instead of your own piss poor form, ego lifting, and shitty diet. So you don't want to take accountability for that. That would be too hard. Oh no, it's just, you know, I used to bench 405 when I was in high school, but I got an injury. I hurt my rotator cuff, and I just don't do it anymore. The risk to reward ratio just isn't there. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. So that's the risk to reward ratio just isn't there. Yeah, you're weak. You're weak and you have no fucking clue what you're doing. Just say it. Just say it. It's okay. We can work on that, but I can't help you if you're unwilling to admit that you're the problem. But if you're willing to admit that you're the problem, we can work on that. It's not a big deal. Anyways, sorry. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk and my rant. I've been driving around while I got those thoughts out of my head. But I'm going to go home now and make my lunch because it's kind of late and I'm hungry. So, yeah, tomorrow's going to be pretty uneventful. Like I said, just going to be really like taper squats. So nothing crazy. I'll still record if I can. You know, I'm probably just going to go to EOS and do it there. But I'll record if I can, and I don't. Do you really want to see that? Do you really want to see me do 4 sets of 1 at 3:15? I guess just for accountability, maybe, but I don't know. And then yeah, Wednesday I'm probably not gonna run Wednesday just while I'm not I'm not being too hard on myself while I'm trying to get through this little illness thing. So I probably will not run Wednesday. I'm not even gonna make the attempt. I'm just gonna try to sleep a little bit extra. Um, but yeah, I and then Thursday, Friday we'll be back for the usual programming. Is my wife home? Do I need to park in the street? Oh, she's not home. Kind of a shocker. I thought she would. She'd be home by now. Um, but yeah. So, anyways, I'm here. I'm going to go inside and make my lunch, and I guess we'll talk again tomorrow. But remember, until we talk again, be safe, be good. Remember that the bench press is not going to kill you. Neither is the squat or the deadlift. Just be fucking smart about it. And in the meantime, go to the fucking gym, bench,